Hey everyone, I'm back with a new video. Hope everyone's doing good. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the 1995 Hooligan movie ID. That was directed by actor Phil Davis and screenplay coming from writer Vincent O'Connell. The story follows a character called John, a police officer played by actor Rhys Dinsdale. He and his team are tasked to go undercover as hooligans to infiltrate some high-profile criminals operating in the area. Over the course of the film, John slowly loses his grip on reality as he gets more involved with the hooligan lifestyle and subsequently loses his wife and his identity in the process. As mentioned, actor Phil Davis took on the role of director here. The actor had previously starred in the highly acclaimed 1989 hooligan drama The Firm, a movie which was directed by the late Alan Clark, which also I've reviewed already on this channel. The Firm from 1989 definitely pioneered the hooligan film genre, so to speak, but it's fair to say the love of football itself kind of took a back seat in that film. In this film, ID, there's more of an effort to showcase the football camaraderie amongst the supporters. We also see violence take place inside the football grounds, which was something that I'd never seen before. Watching The Firm and then watching ID, it's clear to see that Phil Davis was heavily influenced by Alan Clark, and it shows here in this movie. And like The Firm, ID also retains that gritty, intense vibe, but also tries to add moments of levity here and there. The movie also features an array of notable British actors. The actor Richard Graham played fellow officer Trevor, a guy who seemingly was never able to fully handle the pressures of the undercover job. Many times we see Trevor get himself into intense situations only to cower and retreat. It's clear to see that violence wasn't in Trevor's nature, and many times throughout the film, Trevor was the one continuously reminding John about his conduct as a police officer. The actor Richard Graham, a familiar face on British television, he really nailed his role here in ID. His portrayal of a guy completely out of his depth. Unlike his colleague, Trevor stayed pretty grounded throughout the whole movie, which was a perfect juxtaposition to John. The other two officers in the team were Charlie and Eddie, played by actors Philip Glenster and Perry Fenwick, respectively. Both these guys have popped up in, soap operas and dramas over the years on TV, so very familiar to British audiences. So we see the group immerse themselves into the world of Shadwell FC, a fictional local football team in the area. By attending games and drinking with the supporters, the guys were able to become regulars at the notorious pub called The Rock. This was the main location where all the hooligan thugs operated in. And so the idea was, if they're able to infiltrate this notorious pub, they had a better shot of arresting the suspects. It's like, on paper, it sounds like a good plan, and initially all things kind of work perfectly, but it's the toll the lifestyle has on these guys that it kind of changes all of them a little bit, here and there, with John being the main one that just kind of completely loses it. So yeah, on paper it works, but unfortunately it doesn't go to plan. Just taking a look at the John character for a second, he starts off at the beginning of ID. He's very ambitious, he's hungry for opportunities to push his career forward. He's also smart and he's strategic in his approach at infiltrating the hooligans at Shadwell FC. John comes up with a plan where he and Trevor adopt a fake cover as painter and decorators to throw off any suspicion that they were cops. Initially, it all works, it all goes to plan, and Trevor and John are making friends with all the wrong people. We understand John was eager for promotion and saw this undercover sting as the perfect opportunity to make a name for himself. John, being so ambitious and wanting to prove his worth, he went all in on his performance, convincing those around him he was a genuine top boy hooligan. But in the process, John would unknowingly convince himself he was what he pretended to be. John is married to Marie, played by actress Claire Skinner. She too is a police officer, very much in love with her husband at the start of the film. Given her experience as a cop, it's likely that Marie understood the pressures that were put on John while he went undercover. And for a long time, we saw Marie tolerate John's increasingly aggressive nature towards her as he got more involved with Shadwell. And as a viewer, you felt bad for the wife in all of this. When John was tasked to go undercover, she never thought that this would be the catalyst for her marriage to end. Claire Skinner definitely gave a solid performance as the struggling wife who tried to salvage her relationship with her husband, but it was just too much too late. Bringing the wife character into the film was an interesting dynamic. It highlighted John's ever-changing character and how it affected his home life. As I mentioned earlier, ID featured scenes from inside the terraces where the football supporters gathered. For its time, it was pretty unique to see the drama unfold in the stands. In The Firm from 1989, we see a bunch of different hooligan groups fight each other, but the action always takes place outside the football stadiums. But with this movie, it's different. So yeah, credit to the filmmakers for making the effort to showcase the hooligan culture from the inside. Actor Rhys Dinsdale gave an absolutely brilliant performance as John. The actor has had a steady career over the years, but I'm still surprised that he never became a bigger name in the industry. Still, this is a major career highlight for Dinsdale, and after all these years, the performance still holds up. I want to talk about the ending here for a moment. The film is basically left open-ended. We have the undercover operation completed, the pub has been closed down, and John's marriage is over. Everything's gone to ruin, everything's a mess. And then at the very end we see Trevor, who's off duty, spot John standing amongst a crowd of neo-Nazis. There's some kind of right-wing political protest march that's going on in the streets, and John is there. John's head is shaved. He's sporting a massive Union Jack tattoo on his head. It's definitely quite a contrast to how we've seen him previously. So we see Trevor then approach him in amongst these Nazi or neo-Nazi supporters or whatever, and John quickly sees Trevor and tells him to back off. John then says he's on the job, meaning a new undercover role. You do question whether John is actually telling the truth to Trevor, given how far John had already gone with his last undercover job, and with it looking like he seemingly never got any real treatment after the operation ended. John very well could have been lying. Trevor retreats, and John at the very end gives this Nazi salute. Very haunting last image of the film before the end credits roll. Given the somber end credits song that played after, I got the impression that John had actually lost his mind and had actually joined a neo-Nazi group. Watching the character throughout this whole film, I got the impression that John was a guy that his whole life wanted to be a part of something, and so he joined the police and then became a top boy Shadwell hooligan after he immersed himself in that world. He was undercover, but John and the whole team were having the time of their lives. They even said it. They were enjoying themselves far too much than they should have been. All of them, but more so John, got too involved with the lifestyle, the heavy drinking, the attending games, the fighting, all of that stuff. And for John in particular, it had a serious psychological effect on him. The operation was finished. John and the team were then told to go back to their posts in uniform as regular police officers. There was no way John could ever continue attending Shadwell FC football games. All the people he knew, the lifestyle, all the fun, it was over for John. Yet John still needed to be a part of something. And just how I saw it, I came to the conclusion that John sought refuge in this community of neo-Nazis. Still, it's not totally clear, and it's left up to the audience's interpretation. Still, a powerful ending for sure. And so, dislikes for ID 1995. It's not a perfect film, but there isn't really any major flaws with this film, besides one thing for me personally, and that was the score. At times I felt it was too upbeat for the grotty imagery and visuals that we saw on screen. Now at times in the film, the music does get pretty intense and it works brilliantly, but other times it feels a little too cheerful. It's a small gripe, but a better score would have no doubt improved the film. I also feel there were times the score was used where it didn't need to be. The poor music placement hindered the film for me slightly, taking away some of the film's gritty vibe. To be honest, some scenes would have fared better if it was just straight dialogue and no musical score at all. And so, ratings. I am going to be rating ID a solid 7 out of 10. This is almost like a spiritual sequel to The Firm, and both movies would make a great double feature. With that said, this movie isn't quite up to the level of The Firm. For sure, it's an intriguing story of a policeman who loses himself in the midst of an undercover operation, and a great showcase for British acting talent, with many of the actors in this movie going on to have decent careers in the industry. If you like hooligan movies, this is a must-watch. And on the list of hooligan films, this is one of the best ever put on screen. Major credit to director, Phil Davis, who I believe had only directed one other film prior to this. Davis worked with Alan Clark previously, and with this project, Davis definitely infused a lot of Clark's energy and direction. And, you know, in some respects, with some kind of modifications here and there, ID is a film that Alan Clark could have directed if he had not passed away in 1990. If you watch both films, especially if you watch them back to back, you get the similarities and stuff like that, the little nuances in both. And yeah, both great films. And as someone who was born and raised in London, someone that's attended football games and seen that culture firsthand, ID is a pretty authentic portrayal of the whole hooligan culture. But yeah, that was the review for today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if you haven't seen ID, yeah, definitely go and check it out. It's worth your time. It's about an hour and a half, but yeah, it's worth checking out. For those who have seen it, please let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's not a film that I see get reviewed and talked about very much these days. Kinda forgotten, but yeah, I'm done. Take care, guys. Like and subscribe, please. I'll see you all soon.